What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Combat Corporation, your source of combat sports. I'm your host, Al the Postmaster Morrow, and today I have a gear review on the Tyson Pro Vintage Standard Training Gloves. Alright folks, as always, I am incredibly excited to bring you yet another gear review, and sometimes with certain gloves that I have, it is just the perfect time to review them. If you've been watching any of the news or headlines lately, you know that all-time heavyweight great Mike Tyson is stepping back into the ring to box Jake Paul this summer in July, and I wanted to review the gloves that he's been training in. If you watch any of his training videos on Instagram, he's hitting the pads with the great Rafael Cordero and the great Billy White, his head coach, using these gloves. These are the Tyson Pro Limited Edition Vintage Standard Training Gloves. And I know that's a lot of words for the title of the glove, so we're just going to call them the Standard or the Vintage Standards from now on. And I like that name because they do have a nice vintage look to it. That's what they were going for. And on top of it, I'd like to think this is Mike Tyson's standard glove, which is pretty cool. And I can definitely see why Mike Tyson designed the glove like this to act the way it's acting in a lot of ways, because it just fits a Mike Tyson style, I guess is the way to word it. Now, before I go further into the video, a lot of people were really concerned about these gloves when I did the unboxing, and I have not seen a whole lot of other people review these. Basically, the biggest complaint that I got was, oh, it's just going to be a celebrity cash grab. It's $175 of your money wasted. It's just a cheap glove that has Mike Tyson's logo slapped on it. I'm going to say right ahead of time at the beginning of this video, this glove is not one of those celebrity cash grabs. I know a lot of people felt that way about the Anthony Joshua gloves that came out like 4 or 5 years ago and just said they're cheap gloves with nothing but an AJ logo on it. It's AJ Boxing. I've heard that they've got better. I got to try those out one of these days, but I like Mike Tyson more, basically. But no, these are not actually just a celebrity cash grab. I don't think Mike Tyson needs the money from selling boxing gloves. I think he genuinely wanted something that he could design that he would like to train in. I don't know if I'd say it's going to be similar to what he trained in the 80s with his old school Everlast and Flores style training gloves, or even his G&S training gloves that he would use back in the day. But this is definitely what Mike Tyson, if you go on his Instagram, you can see him actually using these to hit the bags, the pads, and everything like that, which is pretty cool. And these are actually part of the lineup of Tyson Pro's professional lineup too. They also have a pair of professional fight gloves that are boxing gloves. They have hand wraps, punch mitts that Rafael Cordero is actually using, and then on top of it, they also have new gloves out. They're called the Tyson Hook gloves. Same thing, kind of have the same similar design as this, only they're like the cheaper IMF Tech foam gloves, similar to the Ringside Apex. Now, I knew these gloves were going to be a thing because when I got to meet and fight for Mike Tyson as an amateur MMA fighter, I'm professional now, I basically, the first thing I said to him for whatever reason was something about gloves, because I'm a weirdo and I didn't know what to say to your idol right in front of you. And him and his coach Billy White told me that, hey, within the next year you should look out because we're developing a line of gloves. And I said, cool. Year later, I got to actually get these. And like I said, these are not a celebrity cash grab. These are actually a legitimate pair of professional training gloves. I have enjoyed using them since I got these in August/September, around that area. And I'm excited to actually review these for you. So with that said, let's go ahead and go into my model that I have for you guys today. These are the 16-ounce Tyson Limited Edition Vintage Standard Training Gloves, and I got them in 16 ounces. They're black, and they only come in hook and loop closure, which is the Velcro closure. Now, I was surprised because honestly, this is one of the few gloves that I wish was lace up. I am more of a proponent for the Velcro closure because I'm an MMA fighter and it's just easier to get it on and off. But honestly, lace-ups I feel with this cuff would have been perfect. And I would think for a boxer like Tyson, he would really appreciate having lace-ups, as most boxers would. But most of the gloves I see him use when he trained, like the Everlast Protex 3s or the Hayabusa T3s, the Top King World Series and stuff like that, all had Velcro as well. The only one that had lace-ups was the RS1 by Rival. But I do like that it has the Velcro, and the Velcro is very secure. You can get them in 3 different sizes, 12, 14, and 16, which again, I was surprised. I figured someone of Mike's size would use 18. Like, I will sometimes use 18 to spar in, but universally 16 is usually the size that you're going to use when it comes to anyone about 170, 180 pounds and over for overall training. And I think that's why Tyson probably just uses this for bag and mitt work. You could spar in these. It says you could, but at the end of the day, you can get them in 3 different sizes, 12, 14, 16. You can get them in one color only, black, which fits Mike Tyson's trunk, shoes, his mouth guard, everything he wore was black when he boxed. And you can also only get them in hook and loop closure. So if you're looking for a glove that's lace up, they have a professional pair of fight gloves, but those are only 8 and 10 ounce that you can get. Now, when it comes to the look of the glove, like I said, it's a fairly basic looking glove, but you can see, I love this right here, the Tyson logo, his tattoo. It's a tribal tattoo. I believe he said he got it from New Zealand, but it's cool because it's light reflective. So when I turn it this way, you can't see it reflect so well, but when we do that, it's a cool little decal, and I really like how that works. For me, it looks like a crescent moon almost, but apparently it's a New Zealand like warrior tribal tattoo, which is kind of cool. But the rest of the glove is a basic matte black, which you can see. You got the matte black background right here, all over the punch surface. The thumb is the same matte black, and the light catches it really well, makes it look nice and shiny. You can see that the thumb attachment's also black. We open it up, the grip bar is black. You got some breathe holes towards the top and in the thumb as well. The mesh palm actually here that some people commented about is black as well, although it's a different shade of black from everything else because you can't really matte black paint the mesh. I don't know, maybe you can dye it that way, but I don't think you could. The grip bar is that nice black all the way down here. The piping's a little bit of a darker black, just a touch, but not too much at all. The stitching is all black as well, blends really well into the glove. The piping here is black. And then when we get to the back of the glove, you can see the Tyson Pro logo, which is right there, and that's actually embossed into a leather patch, well, into a rubber patch on the leather, actually, on the actual glove itself. So this is a cool indented feel. You can't really see that it's indented too well, but it's like that cool indented feel that you got going on here. When we open up the glove too, so you can see the bottom, it says 16 ounce, made in Pakistan, because the glove was made in Pakistan. I believe it says 33, because they are limited edition. Oh no, this is 18, so I wonder if I got 2 different gloves. So this says 18, so what does the other one say then? Other one says 33, I thought. So maybe I never really looked at that detail. So maybe I have the 18th left glove and the 33rd right glove. That's kind of cool. So that's what you got going on there. It's a 13. So it probably gives you the number of what glove you got. So I mean, I got a mixed match here, but that's still kind of cool. The Velcro on the inside is black. And on the interior lining, it is also black. So it is a completely midnight black glove, and it looks really, really cool. I like that. And it has that vintage black style look to it, which I like. And I think that's what they were going for with this glove. As you can see, Mike Tyson is not very much I mean, in fashion, he's a big flashy guy in some ways, but when he boxed, he was very plain. He had the white terry cloth on, and then black everything else, went in, knocked you out in 10 seconds and left. So that's what you got going on here. Now, when it comes to the build of the glove, like I said, a lot of people were kind of saying that it was just going to be a cheap glove that just had Mike Tyson's logo slapped on it, and the materials would be cheap, that was going to fall apart easily. I have used these extensively since September or August. I can't remember exactly when I got it. It was at the end of August, I believe. And I've been using them steady for 6-7 months now, and they still look like they did when they came out of the box and feel just like how they did coming out of the box, except now they're a little bit more broken in. But the first thing that I think is going to surprise a lot of people is the quality of the outer shell, which is a top grain leather, and it's a cowhide top grain leather. And although it is Pakistan leather, people will think that type of leather is cheaper. This is not a cheap leather at all. You can see how soft and supple it is when I push in. It's a very smooth leather. Whoever dyed and tanned it did such a good job, because this, honestly, this leather is smoother than a lot of other major brands out there that's really rough and just whatever. The easiest way I could word it, it's very similar to like top boxer leather, and that it has that nice soft supple texture to it, and I really love that. And on top of it all, you also have a really thick hide over this, which I always tell you guys, you want a thicker hide, because if you learn anything when you learn to sew, the more material you can grab onto, the less likely it is for it to rip out, the stitching for it to rip out, and none of the stitching is ripped out either. So the entire glove is that nice top grain leather. And honestly, if you don't know what top grain is, you can see all these grain marks here. Top grain is when they shave the imperfections off from the leather, so like the holes and the different grooves to it. You can actually see where some of the full grain marks are coming out still. So it's not there to be made to look like a vintage glove. The leather itself, you can't really fake it all that much unless you're really trying hard to make cheap leather look that way. But from dealing with leather between coats, wallets, everything else, I love leather as a material in general. It is not a cheap leather at all, and I can just tell you that by feeling it and being around it and smelling it too. The smell gives it away because it smells like a brand new shoe, a nice quality new shoe. It's not quite like Reyes. It smells kind of like a Venom type leather, a really nice Napa leather, which I really like, which is the same stuff that they use for cars, for leather car seats. So it has that texture to it, nice soft leather car seat texture. When we talk about the padding of the glove, you have one solid mold that's at the top, and you can see the glove is split in half from the wrist to the top, and it says it's a triple layer foam mold at the top. Now, if I had to guess what the layers are, because Mike Tyson's more of a forward punching guy, and from the gloves that he was using when it came to training for his bout with Roy Jones Jr., he used the Protex 3 by Everlast, and it was the gel version, and then he used RS1s, and then he used the T3 LX by Hayabusa, and then the Top King World Series. And I think this glove takes a lot of qualities from that in the padding from all of those, like the 3-layered method that you get with a lot of Thai gloves. If I had to guess what the layers were, I'd have to say that there's probably one layer of EVA foam, that just keeping everything in place. Then there's a high density piece of foam in the middle to really cradle your knuckles and dampen the impact. And then I'd have to say it feels more like gel to me, honestly, but it wouldn't shock me if it's a latex on the inside, which will jack the price up. Latex is not a cheap material, and it's very bouncy as well, which a lot of latex gloves will. In fact, if you go on the Boxing Collector, and he has a lot of gloves that are latex, horsehair gloves and stuff like that. They're all Mexican style gloves. When he throws them for his ads, you can see them literally bounce away. So this has a nice bounce to it for sure. But it still feels like more like gel. But I don't know exactly what it is. It doesn't say it on the website. If I had to guess, it's either a really nice reflective gel or latex that is bouncing off. But overall, it really dampens the impact a lot. It is definitely a flat puncher surface for the foam mold here that you can see. It's not rounded off at all, and the padding is not too thick. So if you have brittle hands and you don't do well with puncher's gloves, maybe might not be the glove for you in that case. But what I do like as well is that the thumb is also split like a lot of other Japanese style gloves, and it's fat like a lot of other puncher's gloves. And honestly, a nice glove that kind of looks similar as far as build goes, to be honest, is a Cleto Reyes glove. And I think that's another reason why I've liked this glove a lot. The only thing I will say is the outside finger here does not go out so much. And the thumb on this glove definitely protrudes a little bit more than the Reyes does. And this glove's taller instead of being a little shorter and fatter as well than this original Reyes. And so it's very similar with that, which is pretty cool. So it's definitely a nice puncher's glove. And like I said, you can kind of see with this is a 100% latex glove. See how fast that snaps compared to this, where it snaps fast, but not as fast as the Reyes. There's a slight difference in the feeling. I can't describe it, but it has that gel type feel to it. But it very well could be latex. I'm not sure. It does not say that on the website. But as I mentioned before, getting off the padding itself and the foam mold, it's split into two parts. You got the foam mold up here, and then you got the wrist cuff down here. And the wrist cuff has one, kind of like a Top King would in a lot of ways, has that one open seam here. So there's not a lot of support at the back of the wrist. There is this piece of EVA foam there to wrap around your wrist while you have the glove on. That way it keeps your wrist nice and stable. But I wish it was slightly higher, because when I put it on, you'll see how it wouldn't necessarily protect my wrist that much. When we turn it back around, you can see that the thumb attachment, like I said, does web out a little bit too far for some. I know a lot of boxers don't like that because people worry that you'll thumb someone in the eye. Personally, I don't ever worry about that much, and I'm a mixed martial artist too, and if someone ever thumbed me in the eye, it's because they were probably doing it on purpose, or it was a complete freak accident. Usually in boxing, when I boxed anyway, my hands very rarely were ever just open like this. They were usually at least here, even if I parried punches. I'd always have my hands closed usually, so I'm not really worried about that. But the thumb attachment is really strong and in place. When we open this up, you can see the grip bar is actually super soft. It is softer than any part of the glove. It feels like just a nice soft insulation type foam. And then coming down here, you can see all the stitching all the way throughout the glove, which the stitching is what impresses me the most, because not one stitch has frayed on this glove at all. And I think a lot of people were probably expecting a, quote, cheaply made glove, which this is not, to have really bad stitching. But the stitching is in perfect places, honestly. It's a very nice stitched glove. And then we also have that mesh palm here, which a couple comments confused me when they said that the mesh palm makes it a cheaper glove. I don't get that, because some of the biggest brands out there today, like Fairtex, Ringside, Everlast, I mean, name any brand, Top King, Boone, I'm looking at all my tie gloves, stuff like that, have the vented palm. And I think Tyson probably saw that and liked it, because all you got to do is you can leave it out for a little bit and it airs out much quicker, especially when the interior lining soaks more moisture like this glove does, but we'll get to that in a second. So overall, that nice mesh palm is really nice, very soft as well. And the whole interior of the glove, the palm and everything, is very soft and it curves in very well. It's not like padded. The interior lining is what makes up the padding, but it does reflect on the outside a little bit. This part is padded enough to where if you're doing partner drills and like kickboxing and stuff and doing mitt style drills, it still pads it enough, but still it does not have as much padding as some other gloves out there. But I don't think the design was to have padding on the palm. I think this was definitely more to punch with than to drill with. So when we go ahead and go to the wrist strap, you can see that we have a very big wrist strap as well. It's a nice thick wrist strap and it's attached to the inside of the glove, which usually I like it to be more on the outside so it can close tighter on my wrist. But when we go ahead and open this up, you can see that the interior lining is a nice poly cotton. The same thing that, it feels just like a rival interior lining. They call it the soft foamy inner lining, and that's what you got going on here. And you have a big piece of foam down here to cradle around your wrist like that. And it's a very nice soft piece of, it feels like high density open cell foam. It does not feel like a closed cell, although I would have to think down by the wrist it would be closed cell, because usually you want that to be a little bit more stable, but it's much softer than most closed cells you'll try, whereas this is more of a stiffer closed cell. When we put our hand on the inside of the glove, it fits in so easy, and it's a flexible glove right off the bat. This is how it felt when I first took it out of the box. It felt broken in immediately. When you strap it up pretty tight, it still protects you really well, and it doesn't really stop your wrist going back. Like I said, the wrist support's on one spot I wish it was a little better in. I've never jammed my wrist, but I can definitely see someone doing this and curving their wrist down too far, especially since it's such a top-heavy glove. It does kind of sag into this position. Would I say it's a natural punch position? Not entirely. I would say natural punch position's a little bit down, but not quite down too far like this. And that's just my wrist resting. So it does curve down, so you have to keep it up like this. But when you're in this position like Mike likes to be, if you're here, naturally it's going to go down that way. So I think that's why the glove was designed in the way it is. It's much more of a forward heavy puncher's glove in that case. The one thing I will say is, even though this is strapped on pretty tight on my wrist, it will fly off if you don't have hand wraps on. So if you're someone that doesn't like hand wraps, maybe it wouldn't be the glove for you, but I always tell you, you should wear it. And honestly, I wouldn't worry about it, because the grip bar in the finger compartment is deep enough for you to get a very nice grip. And I have reasonably sized hands. I will say Mike Tyson's hands are much bigger than mine. When I met him in person, it looked like he had bear paws and catcher's mitts that made one entity. They were huge. And I can definitely see why these gloves are big on the inside, because even for my hands, there's a lot of room to wrap your hands up big. If you want a big, puffy hand wrap, you can fit that in this glove, no problem. Like I said, I've never smashed my thumb here. You can feel the knuckles just barely, but overall, it's actually pretty protective padding, but it is a flat surface, and you will feel every punch sink into the bag, just like any other puncher's glove that you might like. Very comfortable interior lining, does not get hot at all. Obviously, you got the vented palm to help out with that, but flexible, super good grips if you're doing it for like Muay Thai, or if you're doing it for big glove MMA sparring. Very good grips for that. And overall, the interior lining has not changed at all since I got it. It doesn't feel frayed anywhere or anything. So with that said, let's go ahead and go into my bag work, and then we'll come back for my final thoughts on these gloves. I know you guys are going to roast me, but I'm going to try and do the peekaboo style for you with this bag work. But basically, with these gloves on the bag, they feel great. As far as knuckle protection goes, they're good. I've never really had my wrist jam in these. Overall, great dampening support. And the one thing you're going to notice is, as I'm trying to rip off these fast combinations, is that when you hit the bags or pads with these, they have a very nice crack to them. And on top of it, they are very nice forward style puncher's gloves in a lot of ways, because they are very top heavy. Because of that, I'm really able, like the 3 hooks in a row there, I'm really able to rattle off hooks easily. Combinations such as that. Very easy to punch very fast with. Nice solid glove. I love using these for bags and pads more than I do sparring. So when you get the look of these gloves, you can see the Mike Tyson Tyson logo really come up and shine. Like I said, I'm trying to get some type of peekaboo style thing going for you, but don't roast me too much. The matte black is actually really nice, and the logos do pop out, and they're light reflective. So I think a lot of people are immediately going to look at you if you get these, and they're going to ask, are those Mike Tyson's like tattoo on your gloves? They look fairly basic. They do definitely have that vintage black look to it, and overall they look great, and I think you're going to enjoy getting hit by Mike Tyson's face tattoo. All right, folks, so my final verdict for the Tyson Pro limited edition vintage standard training gloves. Like I said at the beginning, these are far from a celebrity cash grab that so many comments were talking about these gloves. These are actually a really nice pair of training gloves that I have enjoyed using for basically a half a year now, which is crazy to think about. I have so enjoyed using these. They're definitely designed for a specific body type. I think obviously when you have someone like Mike Tyson designing these gloves, they're going to be a forward heavy puncher's glove that transfer weight very much. Because when you have punchers that use this style, they want a little bit more of that forward weight so they can pop much quicker than having a glove that's sometimes more balanced. You got to do a little bit more of the work, and the glove can actually recoil and help you out a little bit nowadays. That's why a lot of punchers like the horsehair gloves back in the days, because they felt everything and it was just easy to recoil, come back up. That's why a lot of punchers gloves use latex, because it's a very springy material, which leads me to believe it would be a latex padding. Like, I don't know if you saw the beginning of this or if you've just been skipping around the video, but I could not decide between it being latex or gel, but I'd have to assume it might even be a mix of both. But when it comes to this glove, the quality is what blew me away, and I think that's what's going to blow a lot of people away, because like I said, so many people were telling me in the comments it's going to be a cheap glove with his logo on it, you're going to overcharge it. When we talk about the quality of the glove, that's what's going to surprise people the most. It's $175, which I'll talk about the price a little bit more in a minute, but the leather on the outside of the glove is super high quality, and it feels just like a brand new car seat or a new car that has all the leather seats, and it feels absolutely amazing. It's nice, soft, supple, easy to clean and maintain. I've used leather cleaner on it for about once a week every time I use it for a week, and then on top of it, I've only used a conditioner on these once because the leather is so soft and supple all by itself, which is very rare for some gloves to do. Most of them get very stiff after a little bit, and overall start to flake and fray a little bit. That's the other thing about flaking and fraying. I will say the stitching is what shocked me the most, because even with high quality gloves, stitching will fall apart sometimes. But all throughout the glove, and I know I take good care of my stuff, but all the stitching across the grip bar, the interior lining by the piping, underneath here of the mesh palm, all throughout the palm, nothing has been out of place on the sides, which is where you usually get it on the sides. You don't see any fraying anywhere, and I love that about this glove. And you got the same thing on this glove. There's no fraying anywhere on the glove, which is absolutely awesome. And like I said, there are some gloves out there that can charge over $400 that I've seen, and the stitches will pop out towards the bottom. This is what happens. I haven't had that there. So the stitching was done very well. Whatever machine they were using or technique, maybe even by hand, I don't know. I would assume machine stitch. You can kind of tell it's a machine stitch actually from someone that knows how to sew, but that's basically what you got going on there. Overall, really impressive when it comes to the stitching. And then the bubbling of the padding is another thing that I was expecting, because if it was a cheap glove, the padding would bubble very fast. And that's what happens a lot. Even with gloves that you have that are around this price range of $175, even $200 gloves, if you use them enough and you don't take care of them, the padding will start to break apart and bubble. No bubbling at all on this glove anywhere, which is really surprising, because any glove will start to bubble a little bit if you smash it enough, especially if it has a high density foam composition to it. High density foam, if you get a very nice expensive piece of it, will work good, and the construction of the glove helps a lot, because usually what happens is the more you punch, the more the foam smushes, and once it starts smushing, you'll actually notice with maybe your gloves, the padding basically starts to get pushed back to the wrist. And when that happens, guys, that's what creates the bubbles a lot, or just continued impact in one place will start the bubble. So most of the bubbles you'll see on your gloves will actually start below the knuckles right there. There's no bubbling here on the back of the hand. There's no bubbling at the tip of the fingers, which happens a lot. No bubbling on the thumb anywhere. And you don't have that at all on the other glove either. No bubbling to be seen anywhere with these gloves. And this is after consistent use, primarily of bag and pads with these gloves too, more than just sparring with these, because I prefer these gloves for bags and pads compared to the compared to sparring, simply because I like using bigger gloves for sparring so I don't damage sparring partners too much. So the quality and the build of the glove is great. And on top of it, the materials, like I said, the leather is very good. The padding is made of a very high quality, which is also really good. I think the knuckle padding is not bad, but it is a puncher's glove, so naturally you're not going to have the best knuckle support compared to, say, a Grant, to a Winning, to even the rival RS1 or the Fortress and stuff like that, SS2. I'm just looking at some gloves that I see. Those gloves have better overall knuckle padding because they're not so thin. They're more thick and rounded out. Whereas this glove is very flat and does not have a lot of padding. As you can see, it's maybe an inch of padding at most. But it does still do a good job of dispersing shock and impact when you punch. And there's always the possibility of you wrapping your hands up big because the interior is so large on this glove. Made for a heavyweight that has massive hands like Mike Tyson. Even my hands, which are not small, fit very good in this glove. I guess the one complaint about the build of the glove I would go with would definitely be the wrist support, I guess. In that it is, I don't want to use the word flimsy because flimsy would mean that it was made poorly, but it's just most of the weight of the glove is definitely top, and that's because it's a forward pressure glove. But to give you an idea, that's kind of what your wrist support is banking off here. If it can bend this easily, you know, a lot of gloves can do that, but if it can bend this easily, then your wrist is on that. So put that in perspective. You do have that nice EVA bar here, but when I put it on again, just so you can see it, right, so the base of my wrist, this part here, is right here on the glove, so actually above that bar. So when I punch, the foam is protecting it a little bit, and when I really secure this, you would want this EVA foam bar, rather than be down here on my forearm, you'd rather it be at the back of your wrist so it can hug around your wrist and create a compression to keep everything in place. That's not what this glove is doing though, and that's why the wrist support for me is not that great on this glove. I've never once jammed my wrist because I have big arms, big wrists. I know how to punch. I've been doing it long enough. My hands are pretty strong. I've never really had hand injuries compared to a lot of people, but I can see some people that have had hand, wrist, metacarpal issues. I don't think they'd like the wrist support with this glove. And that's why one of the times I will say this, I'm usually a big proponent for Velcro. I would prefer a lace-up version to this glove because I think that would make the wrist support that much better. And I can always get a lace and loop. And whenever I get lace and loops, I always pinch the padding anyway. That way it really secures my wrist. So that's just my opinion on the wrist support. The interior lining is super soft. It is identical to Rival's lining with virtually anything that they have, which I really like. And I love how comfortable that is. The one gripe I will have about this, I think it's a good idea that they put the mesh here so it can breathe out. The lining absorbs moisture and does not dry very quickly unless you leave it out overnight. You know, probably within an hour or two it would dry out. I just put my gloves on an air filter. Basically, it's kind of like a boot warmer, only that has an option just to blow air into it to circulate it out, and I just do that. And then it dries the glove out within like 20 minutes. And even then, sometimes after 20, 30 minutes, it'll still be a little soaked towards the fingertips. So the interior lining does soak moisture in very much, which can also mean it could get into the padding, break it apart much faster, which I don't like. So I don't know if that's something that they can fix or if that's just one big nitpick. But in general, interior lining is comfortable. It just soaks moisture very quickly. So overall, the glove is really exceptional. I think the big question is, Al, is the price tag worth it? $175 for a pair of gloves like this? I'll word it this way. There are gloves for the same price point that are much worse than these, and there are gloves that are at the same price point that are better than these. These aren't bad gloves at all. Do I think $175, you're definitely paying a little bit for Mike Tyson? Sure, you're going to. It's Mike Tyson, for God's sake. But what I will say is, a comfortable price point I'd buy these gloves again and again at and recommend them and be like, hey, man, you know, if you want a puncher's glove that's actually not that expensive, I'd put these at like $175 is a little much. I would say even $130 maybe would be a great price selling point for these gloves, but honestly it might not be enough for the materials that went into it because latex is expensive, the type of leather they're using is very expensive, and on top of it you have to make sure that you're paying for Mike Tyson a little bit. I mean, the designs putting those on can't be all that cheap either, but that's basically what I would think. If the glove was like $120, $130, I'd like to pay that comfortably. But I will say this is better for me than like a Tidal Promex glove. As far as a puncher's glove, I like these more than that. I think they're much better in durability than those, because those I've seen flake apart super fast. I like these, honestly, Probably about as much as my top box or Aliens, which are like a puncher's glove. But I will say I like sparring in the Aliens more because they're a little thicker. This glove definitely for me was one of my favorite gloves to hit the bags and the pads with. You get an amazing crack off the bags and pads. The sparring in these gloves, I have sparred in them multiple times, but I still prefer hitting the bags with these. Just the feeling you get, the recoil of these gloves is such a nice, smooth, realistic puncher's feel, and I love it. But with that said, my final rating for these gloves, a lot of people are going to think it's crazy. I'm going to put these as an 8 out of 10 because there are some things that fall short, and I have to put it at a B tier. It is a good glove. I do really enjoy these gloves. There are some better gloves out there. I wouldn't put it in the great category because there are still some gloves that are in the great, which is A for me, and then S, which is excellent, that rank above these. Like, if you want to go the extra mile and pay another 30, 40 bucks, get yourself a pair of Reyes because I think those are better than these still. These are still incredible as far as build and quality goes. I hope Mike Tyson never sees this, or why didn't you give me a higher rating? And this just comes to my house and knocks me out because he hates me. But there are definitely some gloves on this shelf, like the Reyes. I would still probably go with a Hayabusa over these. For about the same price, like 150, 170, the T3s or the T3LX, I definitely think are not necessarily as far as build goes. Those are built great. This is going to last you a long time, but I just like those gloves better. I think you get more out of them. You can spar, hit bags, pads, everything. You can do the same thing with these, but I still like these a lot more as a bag and mitt glove more than I do sparring. I have sparred in these though. They will last you a long time, which is good. I can definitely 6 months of beating the hell out of these things. I bring these to the gym like virtually every day in my weightlifting gym. I love hitting the bags with these. And 6 months straight. I mean, that's basically every day for 6 months I've used these or a couple other pairs of gloves with hitting the bags, like bag mitts or my rival bag gloves. But basically, I'd say at least safely 3 or 4 days a week of me hitting the bags for 8 to 12 rounds a day with these. They're holding up great. So I would give a good shelf life of at least 3 or 4 years if you take good care of these. Honestly, I really would. Just take care of them. If you weren't going to take care of them, I'd say still a good shelf life of 2 to 3 years, which is a great bang for your buck when it comes to these gloves. But like I said, they're a good pair of gloves. I've really enjoyed using them. I still wish they were a little bit cheaper. 120, 130, I'd buy them over and over again. 175, I think people are going to look at that price tag and say, Mike Tyson's gouging me for his name. I still don't think that's what he's doing. I think it is a quality glove, and you would really enjoy using these, especially if you have the style of a forward heavy puncher. And that's what I really like about these gloves. It fits my style very, very well. So with that said, guys, if you have any questions about these gloves or anything else about Tyson Pro, I'm looking into buying their hook gloves pretty soon here. I've really enjoyed using them. I think you will too, especially if you're a fan of Mike Tyson and you want to support him, hopefully beating the tar out of Jake Paul this summer. I can only pray to whatever's out there, how many times that happens. And once again, can we just appreciate that Mike Tyson at 57 years old still looks like an absolute unit. Comment below who you think is going to win this summer or what round Mike's going to knock him out in, hopefully. And I hope after that people leave him alone and he can just retire peacefully and go on coaching and helping people out in the boxing world. Very sharp mind. When I got to meet him, he was one of the nicest guys on the planet. I think the media gives him such a bad rap for him being such a cold, heartless person. I don't think that at all. Very nice guy. His head coach, Billy White, was an equally nice guy. And it's awesome to hear him talk about all of his experiences in life. And honestly, massive idol of mine. Mike Tyson, if you ever see me review your pair of gloves, thank you so much for all you've done for me as a fighter myself. And thanks for bringing me these awesome gloves. I did buy them myself. He did not send them to me. I don't think he knows who I am, but still. With that said, guys, thank you so much for watching this episode. Please follow me on all my social media pages. Comment below what you want to see next, and like and subscribe as well. It's one small click for you, but it's one big step for the channel. Already at 8.25 thousand subscribers, guys. Insane that we're going this close to 9,000. I think within the next month or two we might get there. So keep sharing these videos, like them around. Thanks for joining the team. Love every single one of you. And hopefully fight news coming for May within the next couple weeks. So with that said, everybody, thank you so much for watching The Combat Corporation, your source for combat sports. I've been your host, El the Postmaster Morrow. And as always, I'll see you on the next episode. Have a great day, everybody.